Good morning. Here we are in beautiful Juneau Beach at Town Center, and we're going to do our challenge from here today. So welcome you. I think it's a big day here. They are having a big fishing tournament today, and we're going to talk about our day 2 mindfulness challenge from the town center of Juneau. We have this nice little lake, as you can see behind me. And just welcoming you here. So, Terry, good morning. Good morning. Today we're going to talk about day 2, the challenge of taking control of our brain. Learning what to do when we are challenged and learning how the brain works, because this is the teaching for me that once I learned this, everything made sense. So I'm going to kind of teach you that today, and we will learn about the brain. And I'm just going to give you a view of what we have here this morning so you see. Let's turn the camera around. There we go. So just giving you a view. So we are right here. And you can see the ocean is right behind me here. Little clouds. But it's going to clear up. Hi, Naples, Florida Mom. Glad you're here. We are in Juneau, right at Town Center today. And there is a fishing tournament going on right here. So we're going to do our challenge from here today. All right, so welcome back. So we're going to talk about the brain today and why it's so important for us to learn about the brain. And this for me was that information that helped me, everything makes sense. So first of all, how did you do with the noticing yesterday, noting yourself, getting distracted? How did you do? Were you able to notice distraction and try and bring yourself back? And how did you do with just practicing that informal practice? Did you get to do it? So put that in the comments. Did you get to try your informal practice of just bringing all your attention to that one thing and noticing how the mind wants to distract us? So that was day 1 challenge. So today we're on day 2, and we are going to start to learn how to manage our brain, because if we don't know how to do that, if our brain has a mind of its own and it's taking control of us and not being able to stay in this state of peace, then we are going to find ourselves more often in a state of stress. So Terry, yeah, definitely need to practice. It is constant. And at first it feels like it's so much work. Naples, Florida Mom, beautiful. Becoming aware for sure. We'll need to work on it. Good. Yes, we do need to work on it. We have to realize that this is one of the most important things we can do if we want to live in a state of peace. And peace does not mean that nothing is going wrong. Peace means that when something does go wrong, that we depend on our inner strength and we know it's there and we're able to get through it with more grace. So don't think that this whole mindfulness thing is about, never having to handle stress again. No, it's just this thing that helps us to manage stress. So when it comes, we don't fall apart. All right, so awesome. How about, we'll talk about the brain. So if we're going to learn how to manage stress and live more peacefully and with some contentment, we need to be able to know what gets us triggered and why. So we have these 3 different parts of the brain. And if you think about the brain, so here we have, this is going to be our model of the brain. And if you see here, right, this, where my thumbs are, is this deep part of our brain. Okay, you can see it in there. That is the leading up to it as it comes up from my wrist. This is the brainstem, right? So the brainstem controls basic life functions like breathing, attention, motor responses, heart rate, body temperature. And that part of the brain, right, is connected to the limbic system. And the limbic system comes in and it's right here. Okay, so this is the part of our brain that is the reptilian part of the brain. That part of the brain that helps us to manage emotion. The problem with the reptilian brain is that it thinks it should be in control all the time. So this is the part of the brain that if you are in real life or death danger, it's going to keep you safe. It's going to help you to run faster, to fight harder, to freeze and let danger pass you by. The problem with this part of the brain is that it thinks it should be in charge all the time. And the brain doesn't know the difference between real danger and emotion. So we have to teach it. And before practicing mindfulness, for me, the reptilian response, that fight or flight response, was going off for so many things. It was going off when my kids didn't put their hang their backpacks up. When there was a mess in the house. It was happening when, I would go into new situations and feel like I was being judged, or feel like I was hurting myself. If I felt like I was making a mistake, right? And we don't want to start to go into this fight or flight response when we're making mistakes. Mistakes are not life or death danger. Mistakes are part of life, right? And the other thing that happens is that a lot of the times we go into this life or death response and it's because we're afraid of something. Our kids, we worry so much about our children, no matter what age they are. So we want to stop the worry of that reptilian response. And we want to start to realize that we have control and that we can kind of let that go. And we can let another part of our brain take over, the part that's supposed to help with that. So in the comments, if you want to just put, when do you go into that reptilian response? And it's not life or death danger, but you get stuck there. So at this point, because I've been practicing 10 years or so, I've really learned to let go of a lot of this stuff now. But when I first started, it was a lot to do with self-judgment. It was, thinking about my body, never being happy with that. A lot of stuff around my kids. And I've learned to just let go. But tell me, what is it that in the chat, how do you get stuck in that fight or flight response? And it's not life or death danger, but you can feel what happens. Your breath changes. You start to hold your breath. Or your breath gets quick. Like if you tend to have anxiety attacks, right? You know you're in that reptilian response. And the other thing, like the holding the breath is not so, that is more subtle. So we want to start to notice when you hold your breath, yes, fear of the unknown. And meanwhile, everything is unknown. That's the amazing thing about living, right? The problem with the brain is that the reptilian brain wants certainty and control. And it's a myth. We have control over nothing. So let's see, Terry Mack. Wow, this is me. I am in that mode a lot with my kids and how I react and have that scary thing whenever things are going on. Yeah. And so this is the thing. We get to challenge ourselves. So that's what today's challenge is about. Today's challenge is about changing that reptilian response. First step is to just breathe when it happens and to tell yourself everything's going to be okay. Because 85% of the time, maybe even more. Oh, pleasing others. Yes, big one. That was a big one of mine too. Hi, Barb. Glad you're here. So we want to start to notice that it is the ego. So the ego is also connected to the amygdala, right? And this reptilian part of the brain. The ego thinks we're never good enough. The ego thinks that we get our worth from pleasing others. So we really want to start to notice that. How can we please others, be constantly pleasing others, and yet still please ourselves? It's not the way it works. We get so lost as moms in our children that we forget that living our purpose and living a life aligned to our soul is the most important lesson we can teach them. Yeah, and pleasing others doesn't leave ourselves pleased. It leaves ourselves feeling resentful. So let's talk about the other parts of the brain. So we just talked about this one. And this one, the other problem with this one is that when we go in there, we get stuck. And then this part cannot communicate with the other parts of our brain that help us to manage emotion instead of have emotion take over. So then we're going to talk about this part of the brain. So this is the back of the brain from here back. And this is the part of the brain that helps us with all our everyday things. This is the part of the brain that we don't need to think about. It's all of those things like walking, all of our senses. We don't have to say, oh yeah, can you please turn on, I need to see right now, or I need to hear right now. Everything, all of those things, the occipital lobe, right, our auditory, all of that happens from here back. That's what I call the mammal brain. So everything that dogs do, that we do, happens from here back. Okay? So we don't have to think about any of those things. It just happens. And then we have this part, right? This here is the piece de resistance. This is, from here back, the prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that helps us to manage emotion. This is the part of the brain that can tell the amygdala to quiet down, right? But if we don't get this part stronger, then we're constantly in anxiety, frustration, anger. So for women, we go into worry, right? For men, they go into anger and frustration. That's how they cover up their feelings. So, and women too, don't want to stereotype, but more men go into that than women. And we want to start to take care of this part of our brain, prefrontal cortex. It's the part of the brain that helps us to organize. It's the part of the brain that helps us to solve 3-step problems. It's the part of the brain that helps us to manage time. So if you have trouble with any of those things, put it in the comments. So this part of the brain specifically, we are the only species that needs a prefrontal cortex, because we are the only species that has over 300 emotions. So we want to start, our prefrontal cortex is there to help us to manage these situations, but we need to actually work on it. So just like we learned 50 years ago that we have to take care of our bodies in order to stay healthy, we have to exercise, we have to do strength training once we get to a certain age if we want to be able to lift ourselves up when we get older. The same thing is true for the brain. We need to exercise it in order for us to use it to its best capacity, right? And if we are not exercising the prefrontal cortex, which is right here, then we cannot learn how to manage emotion, and we can't live a life of peace. So we want to start to notice that. And when we are able to do that, we will feel more peace in our life. Everyone around us will feel more peaceful. That's the other thing. We are the barometer for the people around us, especially in our family unit, our nuclear unit. When we change, the whole energy of our family changes. So let's think about how we can do that, right? It's so easy. It is practicing this 5 minutes a day to start. 5 minutes. When we breathe, nice long, breathing in short, because the in breath, if you think about it, when you have a panic attack or when you're holding your breath, you breathe in. The in breath gets the amygdala ignited, okay? And the out breath is when we can calm the brain down and allow ourselves to breathe in and out. So on that out breath, we are able to train the brain to calm down. Okay, so that's what we do on the out breath. And that part of the brain brings adrenaline. When we breathe in, we bring adrenaline and cortisol into our brain. And when we breathe out, we're bringing dopamine and serotonin to the brain. Okay? And we want to practice noticing that we can take charge of that part of the brain by breathing. And when we're breathing, we are able to allow our brain that time. That exhale is what we want to do more of. Okay, so the exhale brings those good chemicals, dopamine and serotonin, throughout our brain, body, and bloodstream. When we're breathing in and sucking in air, we're bringing adrenaline and cortisol. We do not want that. That's what happens when we're stressed. So we want to notice, can we bring more dopamine and serotonin into our brain, body, and bloodstream? And we do that simply by breathing. So, and we want to get used to that. Our central nervous system thrives on dopamine and serotonin. So we want to be able to teach ourselves to do that. So let's practice right now. We are going to, as we go for a little walk, we're going to walk up to the beach. And I want you to just practice your breathing. Okay, so as we do that, we're going to start. So I want you to invite you to close your eyes. So you're going to close your eyes and just start breathing. Taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Breathing in through your nose and out of your mouth. In through your nose and out of your mouth. Letting your eyes close, and when you open your eyes back up, you're going to have a beautiful view of the ocean. Breathing in and out. So I want you to count as you're breathing in. I want you to breathe in for 3 and breathe out for 6, because we want to get used to that exhale being longer than the inhale. Breathing in for 3. Breathing out for 6. This is how we control the reptile brain, the amygdala. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Continuing to breathe. Breathing in and out. Again, just continuing to breathe. Giving yourself this gift of the present moment, right? When we breathe, we're in our body. See if you can notice the mind. As we sit here and we listen to the sounds of the ocean. Can't be afraid of our mind. A lot of the time we're afraid of our mind because it has these crazy thoughts. The only way to peace is through. Right? So you have to be able to, maybe you want to take time and get some help, right? Find a counselor, find a coach. Reaching out to someone for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. Don't be duped into thinking that that is a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength. And this takes work. You know, I've worked with plenty of people to help me through on this journey. And now I get to help others. So breathe in, allow that dopamine and serotonin to settle into your body. You know, with each breath too, our breath is so healing. When I work with people, I do healings on their body and their emotions that are held by just releasing it with breath and the intention to heal. So breathe it in, starting your day, and just give yourself a little pat on the back for starting your day today like this. Thanking yourself for coming today and joining me from Juno Beach. I love taking my mindfulness on the road. So thanking yourself for coming. Take 3 long, slow, deep breaths. Breathing in for 3. Exhale all the air out of your lungs. Breathing in for 3. And breathing out. Breathing in for 3. And breathing out. Thanking yourself again for coming this morning. I hate to take you off of the beach. Sun's in my eyes, but it's great. So today's part of our challenge is recognizing that reptilian response. I want you to start to notice, when do you go into that reptilian response? When do you start to feel your breath? You hold your breath, you start to feel tight in your body. You may even, if you go into one of those, if you're prone to panic attacks, you may start breathing really fast. And know that the only way to really start the change is to start doing this practice not reactively. So when you start to do it just because, not because you start to feel tight, but because you know it's good for you, and you start your day with it, and you end your day with just taking the time to breathe. Right? It's amazing. It is so nurturing. Hi, Cindy. Good morning. Good morning to everybody who joined. And wishing you a really, really beautiful day today. Have a wonderful Saturday. All right, start to notice that reptilian response. I'm going to turn you around so you can see the ocean again, because why would you want to look at me? Look at this. Sailboat. So I hope you have some wonderful things planned today. I hope you will practice your breathing. Right? I hope you will do something for yourself. Right? Self-care today. All right. I don't know what happened. Have a wonderful day. All right, last. There we go, a little beach view. All right, everybody, have a great day. Breathe. Do something you love today. And make it a great day.